Okay, so before we start, we're in standard tuning. If you tune up with a electronic tuner, it should bring you into tune with my guitar. Before we start, I'll give you an E. This is my low E. This is my A. This is my D. This is my G. This is my B. And finally, this is my high E. Okay, so we're looking at Candyman Blues. It's quite a simple song, it's quite a simple piece in as much as it's only 3 chords, but quite a complicated piece in as much as there's a lot going on with the right hand, you know. So first chord that we need is C chords. We've got 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the A string, the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret on the G string, open G, 1st finger on the 1st fret on the B string, and obviously the 4th finger on the 3rd fret on the E string. Should give us that chord. That's the first chord that we need. Before we do anything, what I'd like to do is go over a very simple kind of picking pattern. They'll get right hand picking pattern. They'll kind of get you to grips with the song. So before we do anything, I will quickly get a very basic picking pattern, and then we'll add other bits as we go along. So that's the first chord that we need, is there. With the right hand, if you can just get that picking pattern down. Very simple. We've got the bass notes with the thumb and the 1st finger doing the G and the B string. Now the other thing to remember with the piece is that I mean, the way the Reverend Gary Davis played it was with 1 finger really and a thumb, which is kind of what I've done throughout the piece. So you've got your thumb and then you've got the your 1st finger just playing B and G throughout. So very simple pattern. We'll break it down really slowly. So you've got bass note, G, B. So if you got that, notice with the left hand hasn't changed at all. And then once you've got that down, what you do next is the middle finger on the left hand basically goes from being where it is, which is currently on the 2nd fret on the D string, it basically moves down a fret onto the 2nd fret on the G string. So and once you've got that, you can obviously bring it up to speed. Etc. So as soon as you've got that picking pattern down, what you want to start looking at doing is adding in other pieces. So as soon as you've got that picking pattern down, what you want to do is start looking at adding the rest of the bits. So we'll play it very slowly, and I'll add in the other bits. And you can hear it starting to take shape, just by adding that one note in. Now that note is the 3rd fret on the high E string. What you want to do is kind of go between from hitting just that one note, and occasionally just an upstroke with your finger, and you're aiming to get the E, the B and the G. I'll show you what I mean. We'll slow that down. So we've got the picking pattern that we've already learnt, and then we're adding in that extra note there. So as soon as we've done that note, hit that note, it's back to the bass. So play along if you can. We'll just do that part very, very slowly. So off, on with the middle finger, off, on, off, on. So once you've got that, obviously practice it slow. Don't practice it any faster than you can play it perfectly. Probably help to maybe play along to a metronome, or we'll do it again and count along. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. That's the first chord. That's how the piece opens up. The second part is very simple and pretty much identical. The only difference being is that you take the little finger off the 3rd fret, which gives us this box standard open C chord. Now the important thing to note is that the right hand hasn't changed what it's doing in the slightest. The right hand does exactly the same as it was doing before. The only thing that's changed, literally, is that the little finger has come off, giving us an open E. So we've gone from that chord to that chord. So if we put that into practice very slowly, 1, 2, 3, 4. Finger off. So that's the first 2 chords, the first 2 sections that we need. So once again, very quickly, little finger on for the first part. Finger off. Okay, so basically once you've got those 2 down, like I say, practice really slowly. I mean, you don't want to be running before you can walk with this piece, really. So you've got the first 2 chords. Once you've got those sounding smooth, the 3rd chord is basically a G7th chord. Now the Reverend Gary Davis played it with his thumb doing the bass. I find it a lot more convenient doing it that way and using the thumb, keeping the thumb at the back of the neck. It's generally it makes it a lot easier to play. especially if you've got smaller hands. So basically, let's just look at the first chord that we need. So it's the third ring finger, third finger on the 3rd fret on the E string, second finger on the 2nd fret on the A string, first finger on the 1st fret on the E string, which gives us that chord. That's the chord that we need for the second part. And again, the picking pattern is very much the same. Obviously there's a few differences, but notably, whereas in the first two chords where we were playing C, we had our bass note on the A string. This time the thumb is gone, obviously playing the G string as our bass note. So just basically get that very simple pattern down. The first finger is doing exactly the same. So exactly as we were doing before. So exactly as we were doing before, we've got the middle finger is off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. Now it does that throughout most of the song. On, off, 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 on, etc. Obviously it's a little bit more complicated now. That's just the first pattern to get it started. Etc. Okay, except it's a little tiny bit more complicated than that. Except it's a little bit more complicated than that. So we've got a G7th chord. There's a few little movements that the small little finger and the middle finger do. So the middle finger is carrying with what we've been doing, on, off, on, off. The little finger then goes back to where it was. So it's probably best if I slow it down and then explain it. If you can get that movement, so you've got bass, up, bass. Our little finger goes on the 3rd fret on the E string, off, little finger, off, on, It's also important to note that the movement of the middle finger on the left hand as well. I'll play it very slowly. So I'll loop that, play along if you can. I'll count us in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1. Etc. So what we'll do now, we'll put together the first 3 chords that we've learnt. After that 3rd chord, it goes back to C, as more or less exactly as we've played it. Little slight variation. What I'll do is I'll slow it down. So we've got the 4th bar after the G is it's the back to the C chord that we played. Let's get that movement first. Bass up, bass hum, bass up, bass hammer on, and then the B. So it's important to watch the left hand as it goes. Hammer on with the middle finger, play the B string. I'll play that very slowly. Okay, so that would be the first part, followed by an open A, and we hammer on to the C, like so. So with the thumb, open A, with the 3rd finger, hammer on to the C. So if you break that down, you've got the bass note, hammer on, open E, little finger goes on the 3rd fret on the B string, open, pulling off onto the 1st fret, 3rd finger on the 2nd fret on the G string. So if you just kind of repeat that, we'll slow it down very slowly, so it's hammer on. So we'll repeat that very slowly. So slightly trickier than the first 2 in as much as we've got 2 hammer-ons going on.
Plus you've got that bass string. Dun, 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 dun.
Right, I'll rephrase that though. So it's slightly different in that we've got 2 hammer-ons. Hammer on. It's important, the essential thing that kind of drives the song is keeping the bass going throughout. So slowly we've got down, up, hammer on, hammer on. With that, it would be, we'd pluck the A string and the B string at the same time. Pull off with your little finger. So if you can get that movement. So if you put it together, that section. I'll do it very, very slowly again. I'll do it very, very slowly again. I'll do it very slowly again. So what we'll do, we'll loop that part as slow as we can just to get it going, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so to put everything in context, so far we've got the first 4 bars down. We'll play through those. Right, what you want to be aiming to do though is keep the bass note going, as I mentioned before, with the thumb, to keep that bass consistently going throughout the song. I'll demonstrate that for you. So play along if you can. This is the first 4 bars. That is the first 4 bars there. Now the thing is with this song, once you've got the first 4 bars, you've pretty much learned. I mean, you've pretty much got it. It's not a very long song. It's basically, it consists of about 8 bars really, repeated 4 times. And as the piece progresses, obviously there's little bits that change, but generally, once we've got the first 4 bars, we're pretty much there. So after we've done our, it basically repeats the first bar again, which we've just learnt. It then repeats the second bar again. Followed by a new section.
Just explain it like you. So there you've completed 1 round of the 12 bars.
On. Okay, so basically, once you've got the first 4 bars, we've pretty much got it. After the 4th bar, it repeats the first bar again, which we know. It then repeats the second bar, only this time it's a little bit more different. It's now with that bar, it would obviously keeping that bass note going through. another hammer on basically. We've got so our first finger is on the first fret on the B string, our fourth finger is on the third fret on the A string, followed by an open E. Back to the B string with our little finger on the third fret, pull off onto the first fret, let's slow that bar down. This is bar 6. Slow it down as slow as we can get, just to make sure that we've learned it and it's all sounding very fluid. So that is bar 6. Now bar 7 is introduces and sees the first chord change. It's basically it's an F bar chord, except we don't need a few notes. So we basically with the first finger bar the entire first fret. Then we need our second finger on the second fret on the G string, third finger on the third fret on the D string, which gives us that chord. We don't use the A string for this in this piece at all for this chord. So we've got those 3 notes there. What we will need to do later on is introduce the first little finger, onto the third fret on the B string. And that's all we do on the F. What we'll do, we'll slow it down because the picking pattern here has changed to what it was at the start of the song, only very slightly. So I'll play it very slowly, then I'll explain what's going on. So we've got if you play that, so we've got the bass note, it's important to in keeping with how Reverend played it, is the only the first finger on the right hand. It's very tempting to kind of use other fingers, but for the sake of authenticity, I try and use the first finger. So very simply, got bass note, D string, B string, G string, and back to the D, keeping that chord that we've just learnt. So we've got the first movement, very simple. Bass, D, B, bass. Bass, D string, B string, bass. So at this point we introduce the little finger onto the third fret on the B string. So let's slow that, really slow it down, and play along if you can. Remembering to keep a nice solid bass. And obviously when you play it at speed it makes a lot more sense. Okay, this brings us on to the bar 8, which joins nicely from bar 7. Now, one thing I mentioned about this particular section of the piece is that the timing, it doesn't stick to regular timing. What I'll do is I'll show you the chords on the picking, and then we'll do it while counting along. So going from our F chord, which we just played, so coming out of the F chord, we've got an open E followed by a G on the bass. Now you're going to have to learn the piece, and you might have to listen to the piece a few times to get an idea of the timing, because it's not particularly straightforward, and it takes a few listens just to get it gelled in. So don't expect to get it straight away. So you going from the F. We've got an open E on its own, followed by a bass note, just a G. So we've got our third finger on the 3rd fret on the E. Followed by an upstroke with the 1st finger doing the top E, the B and the G. So if you try and kind of glue that, or attach that to the F chord that we learned, try and accent that upstroke as well. Just give it a bit of power. Followed by another bass note. After we've done the upstroke, it's another bass note. Let's just take it to that far for now. So we've got E, bass note in the G, upstroke, another bass note, followed by an open D, followed by another upstroke with this finger, only this time our left hand changes what it plays. We've got 1st finger on the high E on the 1st fret, the B and the G open, which gives us that 7th sound. Let's try and get that. Open E, G in the bass, back to the G, D. Now, it isn't straightforward. I will say that much, that it isn't particularly straightforward. It's, you know, I mean, anyone can learn it, but it will take a few hours, maybe, or a few plays, or a few listens to the track, in order to, you know, thoroughly suss out what's going on. So, I mean, don't expect to get it straight away. So you've got the E bass note, upstroke. This time we put our middle finger on the 3rd fret on the E string, though, for the upstroke. So open D, and then let's just loop that very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. I mean, you don't have to worry about killing the strings. I was obviously just doing that to make it clear that that was the end of that bar. So once you've got that piece, that particular section, try gluing it on to the F chord. And you'll notice it makes a lot more sense when you've got the F chord coming before it. Okay, this part is then followed by a little run in the bass in the bass line. So we've got I'll play that again very slowly. Very simple little run, and we basically got the G in the bass, 3rd finger, 3rd string, 3rd fret, sorry, on the low E, followed by an open B, open A, 2nd fret on the A string, which will give us a B. We're kind of bouncing back from string to string, so we've got bass, boom, 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 which leads us nicely into the next chord. We'll put it all together. I'll play it together so it makes sense. I'll play that again for you. Followed by a little chord where it's basically a C chord. What I'd advise you do is don't play it like a conventional C like we'd normally play it. Play it with your little finger on the 3rd fret and your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the E string. So you'll be playing a G in the bass. The reason for that, as will become clear in a moment. So that part is very simple. It's basically once we've got that C chord, we're going bum 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 with the thumb, with the bass. So we've got A, E, D, A. A, E, D, B. And it's quite melodic. I mean, you can hum it. I mean, you can hear it straight away from listening to the piece. Bum 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 bum. Now the other tricky thing is that I again using the first finger, what you want to do is kind of a pluck in motion, really. So we've got the C with a B string under it, so obviously our first finger is on the first fret on the B string. So, and then you pluck the open E at the same time as the D, followed by a C. So you put that together a bit quicker and make a lot more sense. So let's put all of that together very slowly, going from the F. Let's do it one more time. I'll count in and play along if you can. If you can't, then it doesn't really matter. Just I suppose listen and try and absorb the chord changes, because it isn't particularly simple, and like I said, it does take a few listens for it to make sense. So we're going from the F. Now, once you've basically learnt up to that point, you've pretty much learnt the song, really, or the piece. It basically repeats what we've just learnt 4 times, but there's a few little variations as the piece goes on. I mean, it starts out as we've learnt it, and then towards the 3rd repeat and the 4th repeat, you know, there's a few other little things thrown in there. But not too complicated. So what I'd advise at this stage is to basically put together the first section up until what we've learnt. So going from the F. Because basically after that it just repeats what we've learnt with a few other variations. So if you've learnt that the second time around, the second repeat is exactly the same. We've learnt this before. But there's a few little changes that he puts in, which are worth noting. One of them you'll instantly recognise. And that's very simple. That's basically done by going from the open E and hammering onto the third fret on the E string with the little finger. Might take a little bit of strength to build that in the little finger before that can be done, but no different really to what we've already learnt, except for that little trill that goes in. I'll slow it down though. Remember to do the bass note. It'll probably help actually to get the bass note going in time with the melody. Pluck. So going from the open E to the 3rd fret, So if you count that, 1, 2. Okay, so we'll do it very slow. 1, 2. I can't count and sing that and play that at the same time. Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll play that really slow. I'll count along, so you can get some idea of what's going on.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's one of the variations that he puts in. Okay, so there's a few other little fills. I'll play it very slowly. Little variations that you need to learn. So we're going back to another variation that he does. Play that again very slowly, so you got the bass note, followed by hammer on if you watch the left hand, bow strings, followed by a G string. So I'll play that again very slowly for you. He obviously does the same thing. This is towards the end of the piece. He does exactly the same thing on the G chord. We'll play that again very slowly, so you've got the G. Back to the C. So they're the other variations of that appear towards the end of the piece. Now, finally, the ending, which, if you listen to the original, is a little bit sounds a little bit uncertain of itself. But the ending would basically go. Now, if you listen to the Reverend player, he does, in fact, again, it wouldn't appear to make sense when you first listen to it, but basically, we've got the F chord, bass notes, followed by a down up on the G, on the D string, the G string and the B string, followed by 2 down strokes, with the little finger coming on to the 3rd fret on the B string, followed by the G7th chord, bass note, little finger. Now, 1st finger on the 3rd fret on the D string, our 3rd finger on the 5th fret on the E string, and our little finger on the 6th fret on the B string to give us that chord with that in the bass. We then take exactly the same shape, but we move it up the fretboard to there, exactly the same shape, followed by a, which is 8th fret on the high E string, followed by a C chord. So if we play that very, very slowly. Okay, that concludes our study of Candyman Blues. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope you found the lesson useful. Good luck. Like I said, it takes a bit of practice. All the best with that. Cheers.
And now we're going to take a look at the
and I'm gonna replay the beginning of the song, so you're going to have a view of both hands, and there's going to be a performance of the whole song, but it's going to be slowed right down. It's going to be in the same pitch. You don't have to do anything to alter your guitar tuning. And I'm going to slow it right down. I'm going to run a count through the whole thing. So we're going to put all these little sections that Ben has shown us together, and you can watch through the whole performance, and then it'll help you to put all the different sections together into the whole song. Thank you. 2 and 3